Good day. Thank you for joining us in another installment of our series of congressional conversations. My name is Greg Dowell, and I'm here with Congressman Josh Brecheen out of Oklahoma's 2nd Congressional District. He is a 4th-generation rancher, has a beautiful wife with 4 kids, and has previously served in the state Senate, as well as owned his own business, and now we're really proud to welcome him to the 118th Congress as he serves the constituents of Oklahoma. Congressman, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm tickled that you got my last name right.
Well, we do what we can, but let's dive on in. So, as a new congressman, you've got some experience managing policy and politics. What are you excited about? What are your initiatives as you join the 118th Congress?
So I walked away from state government and then started a small business. Really was, as much as anything, frustrated by the time I left Oklahoma, which is a super majority of Republican control, of how easy it is for people to campaign under a strong conservative platform, and then when it comes time to make those choices, those hard choices many times, that it's easier to move towards a uniparty type means of philosophy or means of operation. And so I left disheartened, thinking that Oklahoma had not held true to conservative ideals. Went back and started a small business, and I began to feel compelled prayerfully that there was a place for me to get back engaged in public policy. And years later, it led me running for Congress because I saw what was many years prior a national debt that was $5 and $6 trillion when I worked for a U.S. Senator by the name of Tom Coburn. And now that we're at $31 trillion, knowing that we're not meeting the objective of the preamble of the Constitution that says that we are to secure the blessed liberty for ourselves and our posterity, and we are selling our kids into bondage and debt. And so as a father, I've got my youngest is 17 months right now, and knowing that I was accountable for the things that I learned as much as anyone under Tom Coburn, that to take that conservative ideology, to be true to it, and to try to do my part to turn the trajectory of a nation that I believe is headed towards bankruptcy.
Understood. And now that you sit on the budget committee, we look forward to following your work with your fellow members to try and rectify that. We know that's something very important to AFP and our activists and volunteers. And I just wanted to take a moment and ask you, what do you think makes Oklahoma 2nd so special? The people, the products. Tell me a little bit more about why you're so proud to represent these.
So I will tell you, I became the first Republican ever elected in 2010 when I started in state politics to a seat that had never had a Republican in the state Senate. And it was known as Little Dixie at the time. And the ability to run and on a message of strong fiscal conservatism, but I'm an evangelical. Mm-hmm. And Oklahoma has long held, specifically southeast Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, got a strong understanding of biblical truth. And so even though they were registered as Democrats, they've seen, not only on the state level, but on the federal level, just the unraveling of biblical virtue. I think it makes us unique because I'm convinced that what undergirds the greatness of America is the blessing. It's why on our money we have in God we trust. And so to have a constituency that believes that knows that our founding fathers felt that way, that it's biblical virtue, constitutional adherence that we operated off of for so many years as a nation, and yet we've become to betray that undergirding, both biblically and constitutionally. And I'm grateful to represent people that understand that. What also is unique about Oklahoma, I'm one of only 2 Republicans now in the Congress, in the House, that are actually Native American. I'm Choctaw. I don't look it, but I actually have a card. And it's myself and Tom Cole in the House of Representatives among Republicans. And of course, we represent 39 federally recognized tribes in the state of Oklahoma. And so that's another unique element that you don't see. It goes to the makeup of our state.
Absolutely. And I was noticing that on the map, and I know that's juggling a lot of different interests. And so I know that's a challenge for you, but I think you're the man for the job, obviously. We were talking about before we started the interview officially, your background as a rancher with your father and your grandfather. You've got years of experiences within the cutting horse industry.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit more about maybe an inspirational or lifelong message that you've learned from that passion that you can bring to Congress or to any other life activity?
Work ethic. I grew up in a cutting horse operation. My father trained professionally for 25 years. And to be awakened in the summertime at 2 a.m. by hearing his spurs jingling, coming down a spiral staircase to either get up or you get water doused on you, to go saddle horses in the dark and work them in a round pen, because in the heat of summer, you can really do damage to a horse. And with the kind of physical exertion that takes place, cow to or heifer steered horse in the cutting horse industry. And so I grew up breaking colts, hundreds to almost 1,000 in my lifetime. My father would say, I'm too valuable to get hurt, and that's your job. And so my brothers, our job, starting colts and getting them, progressed to the 30, 60-day mark where they were bridle wise enough to hand over to him and start putting them on cow. Just knowing that work ethic was instilled in me, expected of me, and to look at a nation that I don't believe we embrace being work brittle enough. I think it's a part of a culture now that is bought into the government being my dependency. And so I think, which is the opposite of liberty.
Yeah.
To secure the blessing of liberty, as the Constitution says. Again, dependency is the opposite of liberty.
Absolutely, and that is one of the things is I've been diving in further with our policies within AFP. We definitely see that some well-intentioned ideas of trying to help people are really holding us back. So we're very excited to continue to partner with you in those efforts.
There was a common statement, man, in the 30s, and I love it. I put it to memory. It was a pastor, John Henry William Bokenker, and he said, "You cannot help the poor man by destroying the rich man. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot lift the wage earner up by pulling the wage payer down. You cannot build character and courage by taking away people's initiative and independence. And you can't help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should be doing for themselves."
That's beautiful. Speaking of maxims, I know you have a deep, rich history in addition to the ranching, but also with FFA, Future Farmers of America. And I know they cherish their creed. And there's several belief statements in that. I wanted to ask you if there's a particular component within the creed that you lean especially towards that you wouldn't mind telling us about.
So I was state FFA president in 1999 in Oklahoma. I may be the only state FFA president that didn't show a steer, a heifer, a hog, or a lamb. My SAE was the cutting horse program. I showed cutters. And then I'm thankful for that program. It's where I was pressed by my ag teachers, Ted Hartsfield, Steve Burris, to explore public speaking. And the creed was the first. I believe in the future of agriculture with a faith born not of words but of deeds. There's such a rich history of the boys that put on the blue jacket, in the early 1900s. It was about faith. It was about work ethic. And so in that first statement, I believe in the future of agriculture with a faith born not of words or deeds. They pulled that out of James, the book of James, out of the Bible. I mean, they had a biblical undertone. It's speaking to both individual responsibility and the ability to, once you're hustling and you're giving your best, you have the means then to help others.
Absolutely.
So the FFA is rich with such a strong history, and it's part of the fabric that made America great, the young men that helped put that organization together.
So I really do appreciate your time. One of the things that we do like to do in these conversations, we just kind of have some fun.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to hear about a movie or a book that you love returning to when you actually have some spare time.
Breach of Trust by Tom Coburn.
Okay.
Who's a man that had a deep rudder of faith. He had a deep understanding of the Constitution, of our enumerated powers, and returning power and decision making back to the states, the things that our founders believed in. And so Breach of Trust is a recap of his time as a member of Congress. So to look back as he entered into divided government of a Democrat president, Democrat Senate, Republican House. Even this morning, I was looking at and analyzing some of the things that he was involved with.
Well, Congressman, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you helping us make this happen. We are honored to partner with you and work with you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to good things.
Thanks, man.
Have a great day.
You too.